All right, let's get right into this explainer. Look, if you're a C-suite executive or an IT director, you already know that migrating away from VMware Cloud Foundation to a bare metal infrastructure is just an absolute titan of a project. But here's a fascinating reality that honestly, most leadership teams completely miss until it's way too late. The absolute hardest part of this transformation. It isn't the hardware, it's not the licensing, and it's not even the data migration. It's the human element. So today, we're exploring that often ignored people side of this massive transition.
Okay, let's dive into this with a pretty provocative question we found in the research. Is your IT team actually ready? Because it turns out unabstracting a data center is incredibly risky if your staff isn't prepared. I mean, sending an untrained or even undertrained team into a massive architectural shift like this is literally a recipe for disaster. If they aren't ready for the granular nuts and bolts reality of bare metal management, that skills gap won't just slow things down. It's going to actively jeopardize your business continuity.
To navigate all this, we're going to unpack a highly structured project management framework today. We're hitting 6 key areas: the training readiness mandate, mapping the skills gap, locking your target stack, communication and governance, learning under fire, and finally, your 30-day action plan. Consider this your survival guide.
Let's start with phase 1, the training readiness mandate. We'll look at exactly why investing in the people running the show is your ultimate safety measure.
And this brilliantly illustrates what the research calls the abstraction gap. Think of running VCF like driving a luxury car on autopilot. You know, it's smooth, it's centralized, it's highly abstracted. But bare metal, suddenly, your team is being asked to rebuild the engine from scratch while driving down the highway. We're talking about getting back into the weeds with BIOS and UEFI configurations, manually configuring RAID controllers, and handling server lifecycles using tools like Dell iDRAC or HP ILO. You just cannot assume that your virtualization experts automatically know how to do physical fault diagnosis and rack and cable management. It's a totally different ballgame.
So the solution isn't just sending everyone to a weekend boot camp. You have to treat training as a continuous life cycle. Pre-migration, it's all about doing a skills inventory and locking in your plans. Then, right in the thick of the migration window, training actually shifts into supervised hands-on cutovers and incident debriefs. Afterward, in that 0 to 90 days post-migration, you're doing gap reviews and really building out those runbooks. And ongoing, well, that's when you run quarterly fire drills. Training has to become a permanent operational posture.
Moving right into phase 2, mapping the skills gap. Basically, you absolutely have to assess before you invest.
The sources strongly suggest kicking things off with a structured skills inventory. This is going to become the foundation of every single training decision you make. And it's fascinating to see just how granular this needs to be. You start by surveying your staff to figure out exactly how deep their current VCF proficiency goes. In vSphere, NSXT, vSAN, STDC Manager. Then you map that directly against your bare metal target state to spot the exact gaps in things like OS administration, physical networking, and SAN or NAS management. And finally, categorize it all by IT role. Why? Because your sysadmins have completely different requirements from your network engineers or your storage admins.
Now, to pull this off accurately, relying on structured research is key. Leveraging technology advisory frameworks, like the ones provided by organizations such as Virtualization Options LLC, ensures that your skills inventory is completely comprehensive and, most importantly, objective. It gives leadership a crystal clear, unbiased picture of where the team actually stands today. Next step is phase 3, locking your target stack. This is all about eliminating massive budget risk.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shows that different roles require entirely distinct, critical training paths. For instance, systems admins need to pivot over to bare metal and hypervisor OS provisioning, VM lifecycles, and firmware management. Meanwhile, your network engineers, they have to shift away from NSXT and get deep into physical switching, routing, VLAN design, and protocols like BGP and OSPF. And the storage admins need to master SAN and NAS administration, LUN provisioning, and protocols like ISCSI or NFS. A generic one-size-fits-all training approach, that will completely fail in this environment.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Training for those roles is literally impossible until your stack is confirmed. I mean, moving to Proxmox versus Hyper-V or Cisco versus Aruba, that completely changes the certification track. If you buy misaligned training courses, you're just wasting budget and creating false confidence. Every single vendor demands a unique learning path, which means your hypervisor, networking, and storage decisions must be totally locked in before you purchase even a single course. Okay, this brings us to Chapter 4 of our strategy, which the data suggests is absolutely vital: communication and governance.
We really need to dig into what's inside Chapter 4 here, because how you govern this process and control the internal narrative will dictate the momentum of the entire project. Right off the bat in Chapter 4, governance has to start with a rock-solid RACI matrix. It turns out if there's even a little bit of ambiguity about who assigns the training, who actually delivers it, and who tracks its completion, your momentum is going to stall completely. Operational ambiguity is often the silent killer of migrations. You absolutely cannot allow training to become some passive side project that just gets pushed aside for daily firefighting. Furthermore, Chapter 4 emphasizes that effective communication controls manage perceptions and drastically minimize risk. The research points out something that's kind of funny but very true. Do not over-communicate early plans to roles that don't need them yet. It just creates noise and panic. Keep it tiered. Executive sponsors need high-level strategic milestones, while your engineers need technical runbooks. Also, get legal involved to review VMware vendor contracts early so you understand audit clauses and support end dates. And finally, you have to establish migration readiness criteria. This is the specific technical threshold where the migration becomes irreversible, your point of no return. Hitting that threshold is the proper trigger for external announcements. So hold off on those vendor discussions and broad internal emails until that point is formally reached. All right, let's transition to Phase 5, which tackles the reality of the cutover itself, learning under fire and managing real-time incidents. Let's move to and see how this builds a highly effective incident response flow for when your workloads are actively migrating under stress. Step 1, a critical incident occurs, which triggers a predefined escalation path. Step 2, the team jumps in and resolves it using the runbooks you established before the migration. Step 3 is a mandatory post-resolution debrief. And Step 4, the lessons you pull from that debrief are immediately fed right back into those living runbooks. I want to pause on that third step for a second because it relies on a magic number, 15. A mandatory 15-minute post-incident debrief is highlighted as the single most effective training event of the entire project. This is where the team documents the root cause, the resolution path, and the prevention measure. Making these 15-minute sessions mandatory, with absolutely zero exceptions, is exactly how a crisis gets successfully converted into permanent institutional knowledge. And the documentation also highlights how absolutely crucial it is to manage team burnout during this phase. A great way to do this? Explicitly reframe mistakes. Errors made in a supervised migration context are learning events. They are not performance failures. By actually celebrating these moments as opportunities to build more robust runbooks, you keep your team aligned, informed, and resilient, even under sustained stress. Finally, Phase 6 brings us to your 30-day action plan. These are your executive marching orders. So how does all this theory translate into execution, starting today? Well, the sources lay out a very clear 4-week plan. Week 1 is all about launching that skills inventory survey across all IT roles to capture current VCF proficiency and bare metal readiness. Week 2, confirm your target infrastructure stack and shortlist the training vendors. Week 3, build the role-based training matrix from those survey results and submit your formal budget request. And Week 4, identify your migration champions by role and get them enrolled in the first training cohort. Their early success is going to act as a brilliant proof of concept for the rest of the team. Look, before you execute any actual migration phases, this checklist is essential. Skills inventory completed and documented. Target stack confirmed. Training matrix approved and budgeted. Training milestones mapped directly to the project phases. And champions enrolled. A training plan without mapped milestones is basically just a wish list. No migration phase should ever begin until the prerequisite training is completely signed off. So the crucial point is really this. Training readiness is migration readiness. You just cannot separate your hardware readiness from your human readiness. Every single week that training is delayed, you're compressing your runway and drastically increasing the risk of a catastrophic cutover. I'll leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. As organizations plan their exit from VCF, they have to look at their IT team and ask themselves a tough question. Will the team's current skills become the migration's greatest liability? Or will they be its ultimate safety net? The answer to that depends entirely on the actions you take in those crucial first 30 days. It really is time to start that skills inventory. Thanks for joining us.